Unemployment and poverty. Today, we are going to have two workshops to deal with poverty among youth and unemployment among Ghanaian youth. I'd like to say that Akasanoma, State Akasanoma organized this workshop based on a report that recently was made public on the state of Ghanaian youth in the Netherlands. And I also want you to know that this workshop is sponsored by the Stadsdeel Southeast Amsterdam. Okay, what we are going to do today is that we are going to have two presentations, one on poverty and one on unemployment. Based on these two presentations, we are going to divide ourselves in two groups. One will be going to a workshop on poverty, and the other group will be going on a workshop on youth unemployment. After 30 minutes of workshop, we will exchange groups. So at the end of the day, each person here would have had each person here would have attended two workshops. After these two workshops, there will be a short report summary of what we have done and what some of the inputs and what we are going to do from here. So without saying too much, I'd like to call upon the chairman of State Akasanoma to give us the opening remarks. Shall we please welcome Mr. Kwabena Sembu.
Good evening, everyone, and once again, I welcome you to this great occasion. Just as Prince said, this is the second part of an earlier brainstorming session that was also organized by State Akasanoma on the 13th of September, to be precise, to brainstorm on youth unemployment and poverty among Ghanaians here in Amsterdam. What we're going to do today is going to be very beneficial to our youth and our community as a whole. This is the kind of work that State Akasanoma or Akasanoma Foundation does. We identify the problems in our community, and we try to solve them with local government in diverse ways, like organizing information sections and workshops like the one we are attending today. Furthermore, we also have an office just not very far from here, front of my head number 2, and people working with all kinds of problems, from reading letters. We try to help them where we can, and sometimes we also direct them to various institutions that are able to help them or solve these problems for them. Besides that, we also have Radio Akasanoma, through which we use as a medium to inform people about developments and things going on. So our doors are open, and you can always walk in, and you can also come and support us anytime. And I believe this evening is going to be a very special one. We are going to have a very good time. And at the end of the day, you will not leave here the way you came. Definitely you're going to get something to take from now in the future. Thank you very much. And enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We also thank you that you have made it possible. It's always good to have leaders that are able to identify issues, and not only identify it and talk about it, but also put together a program that will help come with solutions for such problems. Before I introduce our first speaker for today, I just want to say that this is a person who is a researcher in migrant and ethnic studies. So I want you to know that he's not just coming to talk because he feels like it or because he has just finished eating some good food, but he's talking based on research that have been done on on Ghanaian youth and also on immigrants. So please, I want you to help me welcome Mr. Akwesi Osei to talk about poverty.
Thank you too. Good evening, everyone. This presentation is part of a research I conducted for my MSc thesis at the University of Amsterdam. So I basically based on Ghanaians living here, and I interviewed some youth. So this is an aspect of the whole presentation. Ghanaians form a considerable number of migrants in this country, and actually, can you go to the next slide? Go. Yeah. This, like what you saw at first, is some exercise we'll be doing in the workshop session. So I'll just start the presentation so we can be short. As I said, Ghanaians form a considerable number of immigrants in this country. Actually, according to statistics from the CBC, that's Central Bureau of Statistics, we have about 22,000 Ghanaians living in this country. That's those who are legally registered here. Beside this number, we have about another 22,000. So researcher called Muscato actually estimates that if you look at those registered and those unregistered living here, we have about 40,000, if not more, Ghanaians living in this country. And a considerable number of us Ghanaians live in major cities like Amsterdam, Utrecht, The Hague, and other major cities in this country. And if you look at the population of Ghanaians living in this country, the number we see there, which is about 8,637, are second generation migrants, which means that they have at least one of their parents born outside this country and they're Ghanaian, from Ghanaian origin. In terms of the percentage, in terms of the second generation, in terms of the numbers, we have males forming 4,332, and the females also the same, 4,305. So you see, there are more males here than females. That's second generation. And the table you see here has to do with the age distribution of Ghanaian. Here we're looking at the second generation, no, like Ghanaians, no, whole. And also, this is also a continuation of the first table, also age distribution, and in terms of any numbers. Can you go back? If you look at this table, you can see that a lot of a lot of the Ghanaians are within the, say, productive age group, and which is between, let's say, from 20 to 25. There are a lot of us are within that group. So we have the strength to work. We are able-bodied and we can do a lot of work. And the majority of Ghanaians, 63%, as I said, are within the working age, whilst, which is 20 to 65 years, whilst 35% are below the age 20. It's only a small fraction of Ghanaians that are older. Those are, let's say, at the retirement stage, very few. Now, when it comes to issue of poverty in this country, until the 90s, the Dutch government and other institutions did not think poverty was an issue here, but there were a lot of issues of homelessness and on some level unemployment. So then people were really suffering. So then it forced the government to sort of do their first poverty survey, and through that survey they noticed that yes, poverty does exist in this country, even though it's a welfare state. It's not everybody who has the means to really live comfortably within the country. So from that stage, they decided to really do more in terms of research. So since that time, the CVF has been collaborating with institutions, other institutions to do this poverty survey. And we're here to talk about the Amsterdam Poverty Index, which was released, which also indicates that majority of young people from Ghanaian origin are poor. And this, you'll be wondering what are the indicators for them to really determine whether we are poor or not, or somebody is great or poor. I'll come to that indicators, but before that, these are some of the things the Amsterdam Poverty Survey, or Amsterdam Poverty Index look at. As I indicated, it says that almost half of Ghanaian youth in Amsterdam live on minimum income. That's they live below the poverty line, and a quarter of those are of those in the productive or employable stage are also unemployed. These are some of the findings from the survey. You would ask yourself, what are the causes of poverty within the Ghanaian youth or within the Ghanaian community? Here, we talk about paths to, in sociology, we talk about paths to mobility. So within a society, what does one do for him to maybe move up and become self-sufficient in society? There are three main variables that I look at in my research to determine what factors cause somebody to really move up and become very successful or self-sufficient in society. We look at the family level, so what kind of family the person is coming from. We look at the social context, that's a mode of incorporation. So what laws exist in society that help the people move or propel their development or their self-sufficiency, and also how do people, society, the whole society, people living in the whole society, how do they welcome them in society? That's also another aspect we talk about when we talk about modes of incorporation. And in terms of modes of incorporation, we also look at the skills the migrants bring to society, because then if you look at countries like the US, if you look at the Latinos, Latin Americans in the US, look at those who came from Cuba at the beginning of the Latino migration to the US. A lot of the Cubans were professionals, they were doctors, medical professionals, so integrating themselves in society was very easy for them to do, and the government, because they brought something to society, government also put in place a lot of policies to help them integrate in society. So then, when you talk about mode of incorporation, you look at the skills the migrants also bring to society. And also, the individual aspect is kind of also linked to what I've just said in terms of mode of incorporation. So what skills the individual possesses for him to really fit well in society, to be well integrated in society. So we will discuss this more during the workshop, the breakout sessions, but basically we all know the family is stage, first stage of socialization. That's where we learn everything. A lot of the, I think even in the Ghanaian account society, we said that charity begins at home or something like that, right? So whatever we learn, our attitude towards life starts within the family. When you look at the second generation migrants, we sort of have a society where we have the first generation migrants, that's those who directly migrated from Ghana to this country. So they grew up in Ghana, they were well sort of socialized within the Ghanaian culture. It has been part of them, and they come here, they have their kids, either they were born here or sort of brought them from Ghana to be part of it. So there is a conflict. They try to maintain their Ghanaian culture, and here today, because they live in the Dutch society, there's also a Dutch culture. So children or the young people are torn between whether to be Ghanaian or to be Dutch. Actually, yesterday I was speaking to somebody, and surprisingly, the person told me that she came here at the age of 8, and then at the age of 8, she started learning the Dutch language at home. Whenever she tries to speak Dutch, the parents do not really mind her, but when they start speaking Dutch, our local language, then they get response from the parents, because then there is this perception that you don't have to lose your Ghanaianness, the Ghanaian culture. So the parents try to keep them as Ghanaian, but then when it goes to society, they are expected also to behave like Dutch. So there is a conflict there, and this, according to my research, also sort of affected the way we integrate in society, and which also have impact on the kind of job we do. It also impact on our welfare in society in terms of even our aspirations. There is also selective acculturation, which means that we want to be Ghanaians, but we also want to be Dutch. So we just look within the Dutch society, we think, oh, this is what is going to benefit us, so we choose something. and because of that, we are not really integrated in terms of full cooperation. We are not. We all know about the language deficiencies within our society. I've met quite a number of young people here who start, they can speak the Dutch language. For us, I don't speak the Dutch language. If I hear a person speak, I think, oh, this person really speaks well. But when they start a program here, an academic program, they realize that they are really lacking in terms of their mastery of the Dutch language, in terms of even writing and speaking. So they start and they are stuck, and they have to sometimes, because they cannot cope anymore, they drop out of school. And language is one of the reasons why, according to my research, some people will start. I know a girl, I spoke to a girl who started law here, but in the course of the program, she dropped because she thought it was too difficult. Her language ability was not as strong, so she had to drop to do something less. We also have misplaced family priorities. When I came ahead, you're talking about our families here to make money. Most of our parents, because they came here solely for money. They wake up in the morning, they go to their jobs, do not really take care of that. Look at what their children are doing at home. They come home very tired, they don't even have time to spend with their kids, to ask about their homework, to ask about how things are with them in schools. And they don't even, sometimes when they invite them to schools, for a PTA meeting, a lot of them don't go because one, they don't speak the language, and they go there, it's Dutch. So we really do not put our kids in terms of our priority, our kids are not. And a lot of the time, they think that once, I mentioned it the other time, once they are born here, then like, wow, you're born in Europe, so you are successful. They think that's it. And I know one parent said, oh, like, so you have got everything, like, sort of on a silver platter, so you should just do, and they think the passport is just a key to riches, which it's not. Yeah. And another discovery, another finding from my research is a lot of our young people, unfortunately, we have a lot of teenage pregnancy or teenage mothers among the Ghanaian youth, and most of the times, guys who impregnate them or have kids with them, they are not responsible, they don't take care of them and their kids, so now they end up being single mothers, and because of the fact that some of them struggle to maybe go back to school to finish their school, but then being a single mother, raising a kid and working, it's not easy. You can even bear with those who are two parents at home, let alone just one parent raising a kid. So because of that, we have inadequate parental care control, goes to work, come home very late, doesn't know what the kid did during the day, and we have low family income, one pocket, it's not enough to really give the child whatever the child needs in society and all those things. And also, a lot of our young people depend on social benefits. Yesterday, I was in one of the towns here, and I was speaking to a Ghanaian young person about 25, and she's so eager to get pregnant because the more kids you have, the more social benefits you get. It's true. Like, she told me that one kid they give 200 every 3 months. So if you have more kids, maybe you get 600. So, yeah, so that's it. We are so much dependent on the social benefits here, which is very, very bad. Yeah. So within a social context, we have, for you to be really well integrated in society, because we are black, we cannot really get away from that. Our skin color is black, and we live in a predominant white society, and there is what we call smooth acceptance versus traumatic confrontation within society. I talked about mode of incorporation. So here, people don't want to talk about, unlike the US people, where we talk about racial discrimination and I think here they don't even want to use the term racism, they talk about ethnic differences, you know, but it's the same word concept, just in different words. So racism or ethnic discrimination, as they call it, really exists here. So we have people within society, we are Ghanaians, and when we go out, it's very difficult for us to be accepted in society. Maybe not most of us, because we have lived in the Burma, we have a lot of Ghanaians living here. We don't really experience this because we live within our own ethnic community. So there's this high level of acceptance. But if you move outside Burma, I live in the Rai, a very white community, and yeah, it's really difficult for me. And we also talk about the political environment. The Dutch environment used to practice multicultural policies. Now they are moved to assimilation, straight line assimilation. First, you were allowed, regardless of where you come from, you are allowed to really practice your own thing. That's why we had a proliferation of migrant home councils or migrant organizations. So we have, and they were funded to do their own things, to sort of promote their own culture. But now they realize that, they want people to really integrate. They notice they have a problem with multiculturalism, and it has failed them in terms of national unity. People still owe allegiance to their country, so that policy is no longer there. If you are here, you need to behave like us Dutch. You need to be like Dutch. Next slide. Right. So and also the individual, I talked about the skills. We have dissonant acculturation where we don't really integrate into society. We choose and pick what we think is good for us. Within the Ghanaian community, out here also, like, if you compare Ghanaians to say even Nigeria in terms of education, the Nigerians are far ahead of us in terms of education. So we have low education achievement, which also reflects in the kind of jobs we do. And here, the kind of jobs we do also reflect on the income. You also talk about inadequate professional development. A lot of us, because we don't really pursue academic careers or professional training, we lack the skills to do those things. And unfortunately, we have heard a lot of young people who also sort of aspire to be cleaners. And also work as CASA people. I'm not saying these are no jobs, but then these are jobs you can do as growing up, and when you move, you can have to, go up the ladder. We also stagnation to submit for manual jobs, dependence on social benefits. I've mentioned a lot. We also, and all these factors contribute to us going down instead of us going up, in terms of assimilating, in terms of the us being self-sufficient, we just go down. Next. I'll skip this. These are just a diagram of the path of mobility. So when you go to a workshop, you talk more about it. Basically,
Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you for that presentation. So those of you that have questions, please, at the workshop, we can bring them forward. We just want to give you a short presentation of what we did last time, so at least when you go into the workshop, you are not going there, not knowing anything, but at least having an idea of what the problem is, what the issue is, and what are some of the contributing factors. We'll continue to the next speaker, so shall we please welcome Mr. Enoch Bafo Owusu, a compliance officer at ABN AMRO.
Thank you. Let's drop the Mr. right?
Yes.
I think we have both said that's around, so we better keep it simple. We had a presentation that was a few weeks ago. Sorry, compliance advice. Towards trying to avoid a situation where the budget towards avoiding the situation where we have a lot of our young people, including myself, because I think I'm still young, being in that situation of unemployment. we thought we would just put a core issue towards finding jobs. So the emphasis was more on what do we do in a situation where we may have some skill set but do not have jobs. And in situations where we have jobs and we need to preserve ourselves as in an employable situation. So we looked at career development plan and wanted to focus more on the essential elements that you need to have in place if you want to find a job. I find it a little bit disappointing because I came to the Netherlands about a few years ago, and we have a lot of people who can speak the Dutch language who have been educated here, and you would expect that they should be there. I strongly believe they have a lot more opportunities than people like myself, because I don't have a Dutch passport and I don't speak Dutch. So I would look at myself as even having a lot more limitations. And so being able to find a job and having my colleague also working is in fact an indication that the young people who are not working can find jobs. We are not white and we are Ghanaians, and so we are foreigners pretty much like they are. So we strongly believe that if they have a look at some of these elements, it can be of use and will help them to find jobs. So the idea was to share some of these insights, but going into the workshop, the emphasis will not be on presenting these. The emphasis will be on us all generating ideas as to what can help to improve the statistics. So now we currently have a higher rate of unemployment, and we are looking to reduce that as much as possible. The outline of the presentation was, we had a short introduction, of course, and then we looked at the context of the career and what it takes to have a career. It's a little bit of a difference that we need to emphasize. It's one thing having a job, it's another pursuing a career. Quite often we don't set these out, so everybody's looking out for the next job. But the next job in itself may not really be what you would do even in the long term. So some people may start out as teachers, and then they may end up as ET Minister, the Minister of Youth and Sports in Ghana. I think he was the Baba, if I had that correctly. Eventually he was a sports minister, so you can see that it's a huge, break from what he started out doing. Some will start as teachers, some may eventually end up as pastors. Some will start as pastors and eventually end up as bankers. So we need to have the key issues set out as to what you need to have over the long course of a career. So if we go on, we will see some of the elements of a career plan, which is supposed to help us organize various resources and reach out to various areas where we need to improve, and then over the long term, be able to keep on finding job after job and keep on doing. Now, quite often you ask some of the young people, so what is the plan after school? And you tend to hear, well, I'm not sure, but we will see. I think it is very easy to say not having a plan is an easy way towards life, because you never know what to predict. And so most people feel it's a little bit less comforting to know I don't have any goals that I really have to achieve within the shortest possible time, and then just take it each day as it comes. But the reality is that in today's competitive job market, you need to have a long-term plan. Most people will tell you, I don't even know what is going to happen tomorrow. But the reality is that the sailor who is manning a ship does not really know exactly how the weather is going to be, but prepares for everything that the weather may throw at them. So you need to have a plan. The future is of course unpredictable, but the reality is that a sailor controls the ship and not the seaways. So the idea of you having a plan is not to say you must be able to predict what will happen tomorrow, but the idea is for you to identify what could happen and in which sort of situations you may find yourself, and then how are you going to position yourself in your situational in certain situations. So we looked at the reason why you need to have a plan. And the idea is that scarcity necessitates a plan. In many years back, people did not really need to have a farm. Because we had a few people living on large parcels of land, and in whichever direction you walk, you could find a mango tree with some mango, you could find an apple tree with some apple, you could just cut some animal and then prepare something. Now, as more and more people are living within a smaller environment, resources are much more scarce. So then you need to really structure, you need to really identify how you're going to meet your day-to-day needs. And that's why humans started farming. We didn't just start farming when we had Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They were just tending the farm, and we worked enough by just planting whatever. But over time, we needed to bring animals from the forest, create a cage, to be able to ensure that year after year we will have at least one and only chicken for the Christmas party as we used to have in Ghana. So the reality is that as resources become scarce, we need to plan more and more. As jobs are becoming more scarce, we need to have a career plan. We need to plan and plan in there. So the idea was to look at scarcity as a reason for planning. And then it also permits accountability, because if I just tell myself in the future I'll build a house, tomorrow is it's in the future, 10 years is in the future, 100 years is still in the future. So I might just relax, but if I give myself a deadline, that within the next 2 years I need to build a house, it means that within the next 2 or 3 months I need to find a job. So when we don't have any goals set, we don't really, hold ourselves to any sort of measurements. We just do things and take care as it can, sleep as many hours as we can afford, watch the TV as many hours as we can afford. But when we have a set line, sort of a deadline, knowing we are working towards an answer, it forces us to look at how we are planning things and become more accountable even to ourselves. So one reason for having a career plan is to become more accountable. Now, quite often, we want to see young ones, which I keep saying I'm included, finding jobs and doing well and being able to position ourselves for the future. But the reality is that quite often people are looking for a job, which often takes place in an organizational context, without having a clue exactly how businesses are organized, how companies are organized, how hospitals are organized. So they go to school, they learn the ABCD, they learn the additions, the subtractions, they learn all the various theories. But in reality, you need to know how organizations are structured and at what level you may want to apply for a job and what the skill sets are. So we looked at the context of a career, and most of our young people, of course, start their careers at the operational level. You're not going to start your first job as the CEO unless you're starting your own company. But even then, it's better you have some experience. So you normally want to work under somebody and do the basic stuff. So you would have in an organization the operational level, the tactical, and then the strategic level. And this is where you tend to see the CEO seated. Here you won't have many people in the organization. It tends to be a few people. Here you have a lot more people. Now the type of work available when you're starting your career at the operational level differs from the type of work available here. So when you are studying, then you need to also identify what skill set organizations require from the young. Because most of the time, the emphasis is on you need work experience. But the reality is that you need work experience even more when you're looking for positions here. At this level, you have certain skill sets that allows you to get the jobs without that much experience. So we need to be able to set these apart and see what companies are looking for, what we need to have when we start looking for our first job. Now, in trying to make it a little bit more practical, because I didn't want to use the previous diagram and talk about the strategic, the tactical, the operation. It doesn't make so much sense, but it is still theoretical. So I used a gentleman who played football for Bayern Munich and the German national team by name Franz Beckenbauer. And I know a lot of you gentlemen will know who this guy is. He was a soccer player who played for Bayern Munich and ended up playing for the German national team, and captained the German national team, and went on to coach the German national team. Please, can we go to the next one? Now, if you consider the whole career of this gentleman, you have the 3 stages, and that is what we thought we would use. That is why we thought we would use his experience to explain what exactly we mean when we talk about these 3 levels. Now, as a soccer player, Franz Beckenbauer will be involved in chasing after a ball, running around, tackles, taking free kicks, committing fouls himself, and getting red card and yellow cards, right? Now, going further, he of course will have that experience at this operational level. So he is involved in getting the job done, involved in the nitty-gritty. Sometimes you hear people complain that we do all the work and the managers take all the money. The reality is that at a certain level of your career, you do the nitty-gritty. So at this level of a soccer player, you'll be passing the ball and doing all the dirty job you see footballers do. Getting tackled and tackling around, getting dirty when it's raining and they are playing. So you push yourself through that with the hopes of moving up the ranks. And even at that operational level, he eventually became the captain of the soccer team. Now, moving further as a coach, he will of course not be passing the ball, he will not be running on the soccer pitch. But then he begins to apply a different skill set, which includes recruiting players, training and motivating them, instructing, finding some players from his team, and buying new players. So within the organization, when people are starting their careers and they start at this level, they need somebody to give them that handshake of welcome to my team. Because then you have a manager who has given you your first job, and you have a young Ghanaian guy who has a new job. Going further, this new Ghanaian guy will move up the ladder and eventually become the coach, as the manager, and will now be looking to recruit people to do the work that he used to do. So if we look at the career of Franz Beckenbauer, at a certain stage, he's no more playing football. He's now coaching footballers. And that is on the tactical level. Now, if you look at him as a club president, when he becomes the chief executive officer or the president of Bayern as a football club, he's no more playing, he's no more just buying players and training them. He's now looking at the bigger framework of an organization in which there will be a coach, there will be certain players, there will be money to pay them, there will be enough money to build a stadium, they will have sponsorship deals. And at that level, he's no more involved at this tactical level. He's now in the strategic. He's meeting policymakers, as in FIFA. If he was in Ghana, that would be the GFA. And he will do a lot more negotiations and not necessarily talking to players. You would have other people involved negotiating and bringing in players. And so over the course of your career, if you start as a young Ghanaian boy who has finished your studies, you need to have this long-term perspective about what you want to do, in what sectors you want to work, in which industries you want to work, and what does it take to break in to get that first opportunity. And over the long course of, say, 20, 30 years, some of the skill sets you need to develop. We still have CEOs in Ghana who cannot check their emails in this day and age, trust me. Why? Because even as technology was changing a lot of things, they have still maintained themselves as the boss, whatever that means. And so you have their secretaries and people who should not be reading their emails. And sometimes it makes it very difficult for them to even keep confidentiality. Why? Because they don't realize that even as they are progressing, there are certain things they need to be able to incorporate into their qualification, even as the boss. So you sometimes hear on the radio former soccer players insisting that they should be given a coaching position and they should be allowed to coach the Black Stars. You don't just get that position because you were a former player. Because whilst people are playing in today's environment, when footballers are still on the pitch and knowing very well they want to become soccer coaches, they start taking coaching courses, especially in the later years of their footballing careers. So having that long-term perspective should then allow you to start taking courses. And this, for the young ones. So you don't just look at the whole career as your next job, because if you get your next job and at a certain point you're not really preparing yourself for further advancement, after some years, when we are restructuring the organization, that is when people tend to get sacked. Because the senior managers don't see you as part of the future of the organization. So it is not only enough to have your first job, but it is very important to be able to understand these different stages in the organization and what skill sets you need to start building up before you move to which level. Let me go to the next slide. I'm not sure if you are on time. Are we on time?
We have 5 minutes.
Thank you. So the question then is, how would a young guy, a young lady who has finished their studies get to have complete understanding of the whole levels of, if you're going to work for 20, 30 years, how can the person already identify some of the skills that they would need and will start working towards them? I look at myself as an example. I've never had anybody from my family working in banking. In fact, in my family, I'm an Ashanti, so we go for the money. We don't go for so much the schooling, right? And banking is pretty much most likely, have the fancies doing banking and journalism. And we, the Ashantis, we do the Dubai, China stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't have an uncle or an auntie who ever worked in a bank, frankly. But then when I began to see myself studying business and going in this kind of direction, then I thought I'll rely on the internet. So I'll just go to the website of the company. If it's a big bank, and this is one of this company was the website of Goldman Sachs, as you say, Goldman Sachs is one of the biggest investment banks in the world. In fact, in certain sectors of investment banking or certain aspects of investment, they are the largest in the world. It's an American bank. So I will go to the company website, look at who are the top managers there, and look at what they studied. What have they done since they started their career? Because they tend to provide you with a short biography of who is who in the organization. And these are some of the ways that you may not have everything at your disposal, but you can circumvent certain challenges. So I will just look at the websites of these guys and I'll see which school they have attended, which qualifications they have. And back in my, my small room in Ghana, you will often hear my mom asking, why are you watching all these things? What are they for? I'll just tell them, don't worry, they are part of things I want to do, but because I felt I would bother her if I want to start telling her about all these things. But at least I knew they were useful to me, and I just maintained the information I got from. And today, if I would sit back with her and tell her, do you ever remember I was looking at this website? I'm sure she would say, yeah, I remember, but I didn't have a clue what you were doing there. And this is how I just tried to, in my own way, find a map. And I'm sure my friend opposite here showed something on mobility. The last diagram that he showed that he explained later. You have different routes of trying to get somewhere. So definitely, even though I wouldn't have an uncle who would say, come into my office and learn, I could at least see somebody who is doing it and what they have learned to also copy some of the steps and try to replicate them. So I know some of our young people were playing, but I don't know anybody in this field. I don't know anybody doing this. The reality is that there's always information available, and the people who are already doing it are also always willing to share. So this is how I looked at what the progression route would be. And I identified there are some people from the military who are working in banking. There are some people with backgrounds in agriculture and they are working in banking. And when I found out for the first time that people in agriculture are working in banking, I was a little bit surprised. But it turned out it is even stupid of me to be surprised. Why? Because banks provide services to people from different backgrounds, and they provide to companies in various industries. So if you have a bank that is focused on a particular sector of the economy. In Ghana, we have the Agricultural Development Bank. Obviously, the people there cannot just learn banking and sit there to service the agricultural sector. So if you have people with agricultural background or some knowledge or some expertise in agriculture, and they get some business exposure, combine that to service that sector. So when you start this sort of, little research very early, then it opens your mind to what is always happening in the larger economy, and you begin to see in what directions you can travel to exactly where you want to. Okay. 2 minutes. Okay. So, as an overview of the whole discussion we've had, what you can already predict is you will need a certain level of flexibility in your career. You don't live in those days when, for example, in Japan, somebody will work for the same company for 40 years, and if you ever moved to another company that was even frowned upon, it seemed you were its lawyer. So in Japan, as part of their culture, you work for just one company. And back in Ghana, I'm sure we've had people who used to, they work for 1 or 2 companies, and that was that. In today's economy, things change a lot. And so you cannot expect that your company will provide you with work over your lifetime. You may be doing your work very well, but the reality is that some technology may come along, and if you are the best typist in Ghana, the typewriter, we call them the letter writers, right? Yeah. Those guys are the guys. Can I get your
Stenographers?
Well, that is the more correct, right? Exactly what's right. The Ghanaian, we used to call them the letter writers. The computers came along, and unfortunately, all the letter writers had to go to either computer school or go on secretarial schools or go on retirement.
They are still there.
Well, they are still there, in fact, but the reality is that as soon as the computers came along, not many people will go to a letter writer to get something written. You now have the PCs at home. So it's either the letter writer will upgrade himself by acquiring more skills and then be able to serve the demands of using a computer to produce a lot more better, output. or they will have to find something else to do, or they'll go on retirement. And the realities are now people are not even posting so much, so many letters, so they'll rather send an email, send text message, and almost everybody has a mobile phone in their pocket, so they don't need to write a letter to this guy. And previous people used to talk on a cassette, have it recorded and send it to you. These days, you don't need it because of technology. So you need to have some level of flexibility in your credit work. As things are changing, you need to upgrade yourself better and then be able to stay relevant to the economy. For those who are starting out their careers, you need to be very curious. You can't just assume my father is a teacher, so when I grow up, I'll be a teacher. You need to even know exactly what your father is teaching. And you need to know what the future of that line, that area is. You can't just relax and expect that once you graduate from school. I think that is one of the major weaknesses we have in our career plans. Even for those who don't have a career plan, I'll say that is one major weakness in our career plan. Because we tend to think that once I graduate from school, but the reality is that in today's economy, you don't wait to graduate from school. People go on vacations and they start working in banks as interns. They try to get experience. I did 8 months in an investment company here in the Netherlands. So that was part of my studies, in fact. So even as you're studying, some companies are willing to take you on board and give you some exposure to get you to learn some things. You don't wait to finish. And by the time you finish your studies, if somebody was getting some experience, you're already a step ahead. So we need to be curious, we need to know what is happening in various industries that we may want to work. If you say you want to be a banker, you get up in the morning, you go onto the internet, and you read what is the relevant news coming up, what are the changes, what are we seeing in that environment. You can't just go to your school, stay on Facebook for the rest of the day, and expect to end up in banking. You may end up at home, then you can spend more time on Facebook, right? Because that is what you've been preparing for. If you want to work in banking, exactly, you need to read a lot about what are the trends, which sort of companies do you even have the best sort of opportunities to, get into. So you need to be able to see what is happening around you, and you need persistence. We don't live in those days where very few people had a first degree. I mean, having a first degree or even a master's, it's nothing unique these days. Previously, if you had a first degree, even in Ghana, you had companies. Back in the 60s and 70s, you had companies coming to Lagos. It is 7, somebody says. You could easily find a job. But the reality these days is that people are studying. We may not see it as Ghanaians, but the reality is that China is a huge country. And everywhere around the world you go, here in the Netherlands as well, there are a lot of Chinese study. Some of the people I did my master's with already had 2, 3 masters before coming to the very same classroom to study the same thing they've already done back in Eastern Europe. So you will get a grade 8 or 9 and think you've done well, and they are getting 10 because they've already done all the courses before you come in. Right? So the market in itself is so competitive. Competition is that high. So you will need to be persistent. It's not as if you write a first job application and then you get a job. No. Even after writing your first job application, you'll be invited to write an online test. You finish with the online test and they want you to come and do it in person because they now want to see if you in fact wrote that test. After which you may go through multiple rounds of interviews. So even for a single job opportunity, you will need to really go through a lot to be able to get it. And then you have a lot more people applying for the same position. So if one job is advertised, you may have about 100 or 200 people applying, which means you may have to look and keep looking before eventually that next job comes around. And then you need to be optimistic, of course. You need to still be positive. Never tell yourself you can't do it, or never tell yourself it's not possible. It is always possible. I think it only falls to who really wants to go that extra mile to have it. And I think young people should also take risks. By our orientation as Ghanaians, we are not encouraged to take risks. And here I'm not saying any risk, but we need to take risks. We need to move out of our comfort zone. This may also be the reason why people are not really aspiring to do so much anyway. Most people want to do what they think they can do. Rather not try anything that looks like it's possible but may never happen. So we tend to just stay in the same community, have the same friends, eat the same food, never go to a restaurant and try something new. So as soon as we go to a restaurant, we take the menu, want to see which one looks more like a Ghanaian food that we already know. So we are in Netherlands and we never have tried anything outside what is typically Ghanaian. So let's take more risk. That is not to say let's do things that are crazy. I'm talking to the young people, but I'm just saying we should just look beyond our comfort zone and try to do a lot more than we are already used to. I think I'll end it here and we will meet together again in the Brainstorm session.
Shall we please? Thank you very much. You said we can drop the message and all of that. So, like most of you have seen, we just have two presentations, one on poverty and one on unemployment. What we are going to do next, please let me have your attention because I will not be repeating myself because of time. What we are going to do next is that we are going to divide ourselves into two groups. One group is going to follow a workshop on poverty, and the other group is going to follow a workshop on youth unemployment. After 30 minutes, we will swap groups. So before the end of the day, you have followed two workshops. Now, how we are going to divide, we're just going to do left and right. So what I will do is that those of you that are at my right hand, you'll go for poverty, youth poverty as your first workshop. And those of you that are on my left hand, you'll be at the youth unemployment workshop. Career development, yes. We are very positive. Thank you for your optimism. I'll keep to that. So what we are going to do next is that those that are for the career development will be in this room, and those that will be for youth unemployment will be where we had our dinner. So that's the room just next place. So those of you at my right, you are going to be in the room next door, and then those of you here, you can stay here.